I welcome everyone to the second part. I am very grateful for your support. As always, Jimmy, we are starting. The first story in the second part from the user Ringless Dragon. Let's listen. STBXDH and I are divorcing after 6 years. We have 2 kids, 7 months and 5 years. He doesn't want a divorce but is keeping it friendly so far because of the kids. We ran into a snag when he moved out and took the family dog, Loki. Loki is 4 and is trained as a therapy dog. I did all the training and care for Loki. I used to take him to visit the patients at 2 hospice facilities twice a week. STBX loves the dog, but not as much as I do. Also, I will have primary custody and think it would be best if the kids didn't lose the dog too. My 5-year-old keeps asking for him and it breaks my heart. The issue is that I bought the dog for STBX as a Christmas gift. Legally, the dog is his. The only leverage I have is my wedding set, worth about $8,000. They were his grandma's. He and his mother want the set back. There was never an agreement to give them back in the event of divorce, spoken or written. Legally, the rings were a gift and they are mine. I have no intention of keeping the rings. They should stay in the family, no matter what. Even if I give the rings back, they probably will end up going to my sons when they are old enough. I probably wouldn't think to keep them or use them for barter if the divorce wasn't his fault. But it is entirely his fault. He cheated while I was pregnant, so maybe anger is clouding my judgment a bit too. Is it really crappy that I hold his dead grandma's rings from him, unless he gives me back the family dog that I gifted him? Any pointers for how this conversation should go down? Author update this story. I talked to STBX that night about our oldest son, 5. Our son has been asking for his daddy and our dog, Loki, since STBX moved out 3 months ago. STBX has only come to visit twice. I told him that we all missed the dog, and I thought DS would adjust better if Loki came back to us. I told him I also missed taking Loki to the hospice center twice a week. He's a therapy dog. He got mad, accused me of trying to guilt him into giving back our 5-year-old's dog. He reminded me that I had gotten the dog for him for Christmas, so I offered him the trade, his grandma's diamond engagement ring and wedding ring for the dog. He refused and accused me of holding his dead grandmother's rings for ransom and said, I wanted to take everything from him, blah blah. Yesterday, his mother came to visit my kids. We have a very good relationship. She's a lovely woman in a tough position. She's mad at STBX for cheating on me while pregnant and destroying our marriage. But she has to take his side. But still, she wants to protect her own interests too, access to her grandchildren. But I'm divorcing her son, not her. We had a lovely visit, and I asked her to talk to her son about giving Loki back. Turns out that STBX has been complaining about the dog non-stop. He's 4 and has very high energy. He's used to working 2 days a week and getting 2 walks a day. STBX moved in with his new girlfriend, and she hates the dog. There is no yard and she doesn't help with any of Loki's care. She agreed that Loki belonged with me and her grandsons, but was hesitant to get involved because STBX loves Loki too, and technically the dog was a gift to him. I told her just because something was a gift didn't always mean the receiver should keep it. With that, I pulled off my wedding set, her mother's, and gave them back to her. She was teary and grateful and said she couldn't promise anything. I told her I would just appreciate her speaking to STBX about it. It was a gamble on my part, but she's always done right by me. And divorcing a mama's boy does have some advantages. STBX dropped the Loki off an hour ago, and we are all so overjoyed. Author edited the story. I cannot believe how this blew up. Thanks everyone for the nice comments. I'm blessed with a very wonderful MIL that has been nothing but supportive of me. She was a godsend when I had my youngest. We are going to work hard to preserve our relationship. We need each other more than ever now. I already called her crying, thanking her for shaming her son. I'm glad to offer a good MIL story. What I think about this story? I think it's similar to what she said about the kids. He likes the idea of the dog. Like, it was awesome to have the dog when the wife trained it and took care of it, and he could just give it some petting or throw a ball for 5 minutes and then go do what he wants because he's bored with it. Let's check the user comment. You don't have to hope too hard. This guy is absolutely going to have a bad life because he's such a selfish dweeb. Best part is, he's going to make it all happen himself. Although he'll never see it that way. His 20-year-old girlfriend will get tired of being a maid and dump him. She's young, dumb, and the other woman. But once she's tied down, because she'll get knocked up to keep her man, and grows up a little, she'll realize being with him is dump and bounce. Or she gets pregnant and the cycle repeats. He cheats on her, she leaves. He's Pikachu surprised face. He'll whine and moan because he didn't deserve it. It's not his fault that people change when responsibilities change. He didn't change. His kids will grow up knowing that he was there and now isn't. He'll demand respect, but won't work for a relationship with his children, so his kids won't want a relationship. He'll be Pikachu surprised face about this too, because what did he do? Those are his kids. They should be at his beck and call, the selfish brats. He'll whine and moan, and finally, even his mother will get sick of his dump. She'll lay into him about all his mistakes and past behaviors that lead him to where he is now. 50 with a 25-year-old girlfriend that treats him like dump and cheats on him and takes his money because he can't keep up with her. Probably broker than he lets on because he's trying to save face. And all his friends having moved on and away because they grew up and refused to. Never will he see any of this as his fault. But eventually, lying in a hospital bed, dying alone and bitter, he'll maybe have a brief moment of regret as he takes his last breath with no one to comfort him or keep him company outside of the beeping and whirring of a few machines ticking down the last seconds of his life. The second story from the user Paint Stunning Let's Listen. My roommate and I rent a pretty nice 2-bedroom apartment together. We pay practically nothing in rent, as we have a deal to keep an eye on things and take care of facilities. It's a great deal because it doesn't take more than a few hours a week and we take turns. My roommate's sister lost custody of her kids, 2 girls, 1 boy, and may be facing prison time. My roommate wants to get them out of the foster system since they got put in separate homes. My roommate is their only other family. Their dads aren't in the picture, so there's no one else that can take them in. The social worker gave him some requirements, has issues with me because I am an unrelated adult man and because I have a record of substance abuse. Also, because of the ages of the kids, my roommate needs to have at least 2 bedrooms. He cannot afford a 2-bedroom place except this one because of the great deal we get, which is why he wants me to move out. He says the fact is, he needs the apartment more than me. I get that he is in a bad position, but rent is insanely expensive around here. If I moved out, renting even a single bedroom elsewhere would be way more expensive than renting this apartment by myself. I would like to keep living here so I can save money, so I can hopefully one day be able to buy a place of my own. That's just never going to happen if I have to pay market rate rent. I was also living here first, so I don't feel like it's fair that I should have to be the one to move. Author update this story. This is a pretty short update. I got the suggestion a few times that I should talk to my landlord about the situation since he may not be okay with the idea. While he was okay with the idea of kids, he already has a lot of tenants with kids. He was not okay with continuing the same arrangement with my roommate without me there. So there's really no point in me moving out since my roommate would have to pay market rate rent for the place which he can't afford. As of right now, my roommate's plans are to continue living here while he figures out some other arrangement. Once he does, he's going to move out, and I'm going to get a new roommate here. Author update this story in the second time. I didn't think I was going to make another update, but some stuff happened and I kind of need a place to vent. You can go to my profile and read my previous posts if you don't know the story. I said in my last update that my roommate was going to continue to live here until he figured out some other arrangement that would work out for the 4 of them. I had passed on some of the helpful suggestions and sources people messaged me about. Upon further research, though, he realized it was still going to take time, and it would be faster for him to save up money for a deposit and first or last month's rent on a new place, and then get assistance once the kids were moved in. Honestly, I don't really get how it works. For those wondering why he doesn't have money saved up from living here, it's because he's been using the money to pay off his student loans. So plan was for him to hopefully have enough in 4 or 5 months. My roommate started to become more and more hostile, though. First, just passive-aggressive, but it led to a big blowout. Nothing physical, just yelling. He was really mad because he thought since I have such a good relationship with our landlord that I should have tried to convince him that he could handle the maintenance on his own. Honestly, he probably could. I know I can handle it on my own. I almost considered it too because I didn't think I wanted to continue to live with him. After talking to my landlord about the situation again, we came to a new agreement. My landlord is going to be ending our lease. He gave us both official notice. I'm going to continue living here, but moving into another unit. It's a one-bedroom and a bit smaller, but on the bright side, it was recently renovated, so it's nicer. I'm going to have to do the maintenance on my own from now on, but it's still a really great deal and worth it to not have to deal with roommate issues anymore. Thankfully, I will be able to move into the new unit in just a few days, because my old roommate was super pissed after he got the notice. He's used more than a few expletives when talking to me and says ruined everything, because now he won't be able to save money since he's going to have to start paying rent somewhere. TBH with how he's been, I've sort of lost sympathy for him. I do still feel bad for his sister's kids though. What I think about this story, seems like the roommate had a really poor understanding of the whole foster system and benefits eligibility. He seemed like he was just going off of what one social worker told him, which seems like a good idea, but they are also only human and sometimes don't know everything in a particular case. The roommate sounds like he wasn't really cut out to be a guardian in his current situation. Even if OP moved out and this guy had cheap rent, I don't think he understands how expensive and time-consuming 3 kids will be. Being thrust into a full-time solo parent with little or no experience might not have left him available for basic maintenance anyway. I hope he gets himself together enough to get his nibblings out of foster care. But with or without OP living there, it was going to be an uphill battle. Let's check the users' comments. My mom just quit being a foster mom, and from seeing what she experienced trying to help the father of her recent foster kids, CPS, is too busy to actually be helpful. He had to move to our state and stay here for 6 months. He was staying with a cousin who didn't understand what the kids went through and threatened to put him and his kids on the street. My mom offered to rent a unit to him below market rate and hire him for $15 an hour for 6 months, the time he was required to be in our state. That's the best she could do as the property manager. She doesn't own any properties. But he felt defeated and convinced himself that the kids were better off in foster care. He felt overwhelmed because the kids have mental health issues, need dentist and doctor appointments, cost of groceries. His cousin was a doctor, so the household income was too high for the father to get SNAP. He recently gave them back to the system to my mom's disappointment. Their maternal aunt filed kinship or guardianship, and she won't receive benefits from the state, and she will be taking the 3 older kids and the 2 toddlers my mom was also caring for. Deadass the caseworker called my mom and asked when the toddlers would be going to their aunt, something they need to file paperwork for and process. We literally just went through this a year ago. Biomom lost the kids to the system, and the state refused to do a transfer because we can't trust your state to be as good as ours. A caseworker's exact words. So my husband left and had to live in the other state for almost 6 months. They put him through hell to the point he almost gave up, while they gave Biomom a slap on the wrist and the excuse of, she's still their mom and moms make mistakes. Not sure how 13 pages of clear documented abuse and neglect of various horrible states is a mistake, but okay. They changed the plans of reunification weekly, sometimes daily, I swear to God. They only finally released them when we got a new judge who spent over a week reviewing the case and ended up telling them he was contacting the state's capital due to the clear abuse of the system he was seeing by DFS. Suddenly he could have the kids and could leave as long as he dropped the lawsuits we were encouraged to file. The system is broken to pieces with many states and counties using kids to their own benefit, and sadly, it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. I was feeling bad for the roommate until we learned they got a good deal for rent because of OOP. Roommate wants to keep the deal OOP made and evicted OOP from the apartment. I get it was a decision in a rush, but dude. And then when it rightfully didn't happen, but OP still gave him plenty of resources to go for. Roommate decided that being a little dump was his option. The situation is bad, we get it, particularly for the poor kids. But it's not a reason to be an absolute dump to the person that helped you get a deal that saved you money. By acting like that, roommate just created another problem for himself. He could have stayed neutral and keep living in a cheap rent apartment until he had enough money, but no. He decided to be so unbearable that OP wanted to leave, which I think was his plans all along, but it didn't turn out how he expected it. All in all, the only person I feel bad about are the kids. Foster care doesn't seem like a pleasant walk, but I hope they have the chance to find people that care for them. Thank you to everyone who was with us today. Unfortunately, today's stories have come to an end, but do not rush to get upset. I will definitely come back to you tomorrow. Thank you all for your support. I love you. Bye-bye.